So let's talk A Quiet Place. Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club. Sorry for the delay on this video. Work in university got hectic for a moment, but hey, better late than never. Should go without saying that there will be huge spoilers ahead for the film, so if you haven't already, go and see it. If you don't care, then let's have it. So the year is 2020 and we open up on day 89 of this attack from these mysterious creatures that hunt us by sound. We get clues through various newspaper headings that are laying around the town and plastered all over the Abbott's walls in their farmhouse. I'll just get this out the way now, they should have totally took those batteries for themselves and dumped them in a river rather than leaving them right beside the bloody toy spaceship. That was pretty stupid. But I suppose humans do make mistakes, and that was a big one. Especially from Reagan giving Bo the toy and then walking away without checking what he was doing with it. Even letting the youngest walk at the back seems strange to me, but hey, it had to happen. We are led to believe these things are aliens, as the newspapers mention an invasion and landing sites. They also mention they have impenetrable armour, which later on we find out is not entirely true. While the family scavenges the town, we catch a glimpse of a notice board with lots of missing posters on it. This hints to me that the way these things took over was much more gradual than a wide-scale worldwide invasion. It was slower and more methodical. They didn't just come down and try to wipe us out completely from the outset, which makes me wonder if they are more intelligent than the way they seem in the movie. Throughout the movie, they look like they are just animals tearing through anything they hear to remove the noise it is making, as we learn at the end, noise is indeed their weakness, and this would explain why they would want to destroy anything that may be dangerous to them. I have heard a lot of people wanting a sequel, but to be honest, I would love a prequel to see how this whole thing started. Maybe at first there was only one of these things, then when they realised how much noise mankind makes in day-to-day life, they sent down more to hit us harder. We never get a clear answer on how bad this apocalypse has affected the world and how many people it has wiped out. But we do see Krasinski's character Lee trying to get through to a few different countries via radio, but he ends up crossing them all off his list. He obviously never managed to make contact. Whether this is down to all the countries being ravaged by these things or his dodgy electrician skills, we don't know, but I'm confident in thinking this is a worldwide event. When we later on see Lee on top of the silo lighting a fire, we are then shown a few other fires close by, maybe 3 or 4, I can't remember exactly, but this shows us that there are still survivors in the area. The old guy we see Lee and Marcus come across in the woods could have been one of these survivors along with his wife, but as we see his wife lying there dead, he gives up on life and decides to attract the monsters with screaming, which I thought was kind of shitty if you ask me. If you want to die, okay, but at least let these other 2 innocent people get further away before you go doing something like that. But I feel like he just abandoned all hope. So in this world you have to be silent and your neighbours can get you killed, but you don't have to be completely quiet all the time at least. We learn that if you are by running water like a river, you can make some noise. If you are by something louder like a waterfall, then you can make a lot of noise. This must also mean that the monsters can differentiate between noises they need to attack and those they can ignore. They may have learned this from trying to attack rivers and waterfalls and being unsuccessful. Maybe this is why the takeover happened slower at the start. They were learning what to go for and what to leave be. I also thought going into the movie Emily Blunt's character Evelyn would have been pregnant before the attack and that they did not intend to bring a child into this world, but this isn't true. After the death of Bo, we flash forward to day 400 and something, meaning that Lee knocked up Evelyn during this whole silent shit show. Either his pull-out game is weak as shit, or they just really like kids and wanted to challenge themselves. Not to mention they must have had the most awkward quiet sex. But the baby was necessary to add in a lot of tension to the film. The whole cock coffin with the oxygen tank was really smart of them, and when that basement started to flood and Evelyn awoke to the monster in there with her and the baby, that was a great scene. The relationship between Lee and Reagan was a big part in giving me some big emotional hits too. When Lee sacrificed himself to save Reagan and Marcus, I had to admit I was close to a tear almost. I really wanted him to just throw that axe as far as he could and make the creature chase it, but I'm sure that it would have realised that whatever made the sound wasn't dead yet. I also just want to shine a light on that scene with the nail, probably the only scene that made me cringe in the film. It was very Evil Dead-like in its execution, that the way it was shot, I just loved it. Emily Blunt sold the pain in her face so well. But back to Lee and Reagan. So Reagan realises that the hearing aid her dad was making for her can hurt these creatures. It seems to upset them, as when they open their heads to listen closely, they get some sort of feedback with it. This feedback drives them crazy, and it is also worth to note that the monsters themselves do emit some sort of frequency that messes with electrics, as the TVs go all static when they are around and lights begin to flicker like their torches. But when this feedback is amplified by Reagan, it infuriates the creature and it opens its head as wide as we have seen it before. Then Evelyn shoots it and it goes down, so these things are bulletproof and possibly, as the papers say, bomb-proof, but only when their skin is fully sealed. They seem to be able to expose parts of their anatomy, like their eardrums. If you can attack these parts, you can kill them. This gunshot attracts loads more to the farmhouse, but Reagan and Evelyn look ready to take them on. Then the film ends. Now when the film ended, I wanted more and I was a little bit annoyed, but the more I look back and think of it, it doesn't bother me as much, although it still does a little bit. The Abbotts have brought a new baby into a dangerous world, but now know how to protect the baby and themselves and can start to fight back against these things. Just hopefully there are enough shells in that bullet stash to take care of all these aliens. In the end, I do still think the creatures are aliens, but I don't think they are the ones who piloted themselves here. I feel they may have been dropped onto Earth one by a more intelligent race that is using them to wipe us out. Once we are gone and these creatures remain, they will come down and claim the Earth as theirs. They must have a way to control these creatures, or a much more effective way of killing them. Or the other alien theory is that they fell to Earth, much like the aliens in Attack the Block. They floated through space on solar winds until they sense a suitable home, then head for Earth. More and more eventually follow their pheromones, which would explain the gradual takeover and rise in their numbers. For the fact they don't eat their kill, I don't think they have to. Maybe we just aren't in their diet. I think they just destroy sound wherever they can, as that in the end is their weakness. It's like me smashing my alarm clock on a Monday morning. It is just that fucking irritating. As we see the old man looking at his dead wife, she just looked cut up, and the old man himself, it looks like he gets chopped in half. Although we never do see what happened to Bo, seeing a kid like that would probably have been a little bit too much for a PG-13. But then again, these crab-like demogorgons could be some sort of ancient species awoken from a deep slumber, or as quite a few people thought, including myself, even something biblical. But I am confident in sticking with aliens either dropped here by more intelligent ones or floated here through space in search of an inhabitable world. They might be like space mosquitoes, but instead of smacking into a windscreen, they smack into planets and take over until they live in silence with one another. We also get a few hints towards space, with Bo having the spaceship toy at the beginning of the film and him saying that's how they're going to get out of this situation. We also see Reagan and Marcus playing Monopoly with Star and planets as their icons. These may have been hinting to the creatures being otherworldly. It is also worth to mention that A Quiet Place was actually almost a Cloverfield film. Beck and Woods, who wrote the original script, had discussed it with Paramount, but eventually settled on it being its own thing. Just a fun little fact for all of us who thought it was in the Cloververse. But anyway, I've rambled on for long enough, but I love talking and speculating about all this kind of stuff. I have truly loved updating, analysing and reviewing this film for you all. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed listening and commenting as much as I have making these and discussing them with you guys in the comments and on Instagram and Twitter. If you don't already, then go and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for updates. Links will be in the description. If there's anything I've totally missed, put it in the comments along with any questions or theories you have yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, and if you want to see more content from myself, subscribe to join the club. Thank you and good night.